afternoon. Hello, hello. Welcome back to another Dansky Live. It's been a minute. God, it feels like forever. I missed you guys last week. Oh, internet fixed. So we're all good. That was so annoying. It was literally a cable. Someone walking past the house had knocked a cable on the outside unit and it literally kind of snapped it off. So when the engineers came out, they were like, yeah, that's probably why you don't have any internet. It's because the cable's hanging off. So, yeah, but we're back. I know, Ben. Ugh, yeah, annoying. But yeah, hello, everyone. Sema, hello. Dilshan, hello, hello. Rebecca, nice to see you again. Sabina, I can't wait. Amazing. I'm so excited. Me too. We've got some pretty amazing work today, and I mean amazing in the sense that it's really good, but it's also going to be really kind of fun for me to critique it, because just having a kind of skim through, there's lots of little nitpicks in there, but hopefully that's going to be a good opportunity for them and for you and everyone to learn something. And we'll just have a bit of fun as well. Hello, Paul. Hey, everyone. This is the first time I'll be watching from the start. Usually I join part way through. Yes. Nice, Paul. Early crew. Ben, hey, I made it. Last week I was on vacation, and the week before I had some pressing work. Or some nonsense. Yeah, some other nonsense. Where did you go on vacation? Was it somewhere hot and sunny? In fact, actually, where are you based, Ben? Where are you? US? Are you kind of UK, Europe? I'm in the UK, and it's actually, I was going to say it's grey and miserable. It has been, but it's very nice today. It's a bit weird. We're like pushing into November and the sun's out. Very strange. Dan's computer woes are over, I hope. I know, right? Like the laptop died, then literally 2 weeks later the internet's just buggered up. But M3 Max, 5 curved monitor, foot pedal kerning system. My goodness. Then, mate, you're going to have to lower your expectations. As my old boss used to say, we've got a pretty tin pot setup over here. Dilshan, have you guys played Spider-Man 2 yet? No, I haven't. I played the first one. Amazing game. I'm not like a massive Spider-Man fan, but when I played the first one, I was like, well done, guys. This is a solid game. So it's probably the kind of game that I will pick up at some point when I'm in the mood for a bit of web slinging action. But yeah, it sounds like they've absolutely smashed it again. Who is it? Insomniac? Yeah, I mean, those guys, very, very talented. Ben Harris sounds like a sabotage. I know, there was that suspicious part of my brain that thought, you know what? Did I annoy the neighbors or something and they kind of turned up with their wire cutters and just snip? I don't think so. But to fail, I probably butchered your name then. I'm terribly sorry, but hello. Thanks for joining. Oscars, Reese. About a month ago, my internet cut, and it was my neighbor grading out his driveway with his tractor cut right through the main line. Ugh. Oh no. Nightmare. Hello, Mr. Dan. Amaze my eyeballs, Dansky. Well, it's not going to be me doing that today. It's going to be everyone else and the work they're very kindly submitted. So it's going to be more graphic design based today, but I think there are a few kind of web graphics in there, at least, with the limited context. I'm guessing they're web graphics, but let's open up a few. So we're going to start with cookies. So there's a few of these here, and they're kind of similar, but they have a very consistent style. No windows available. Let's try that again. Come on, Dan, you can open a file. I know it's a Tuesday, but all right, let's get rid of that annoying contextual bar that is kind of useful but follows me around and drives me nuts. So what have we got here? Gourmet cookies. Very nice. This does look like a kind of web hero graphic of sorts. Oh, chocolate cookies. Oh, why have you got to show me this? Wilson! Wilson! I've just started doing the ketogenic diet, so no cookies for me, unfortunately. 50 grams of carbs, and that is my limit. Oh, we've got royal cookies. So the thing about these graphics is they're all kind of very similar, very consistent, consistent use of type, consistent call to action style. The position kind of moves around a bit, but this reminds me of what I used to do when I used to work for a company called Clark's Shoes. You may have heard of them, depending on which part of the world you're from. And we had to do a lot of this. As you can imagine, instead of gourmet cookies, it was shoes, but we had like 10, 20 different graphics for all of the different categories. So you'd have like women's flats, wedges, sandals, smart shoes, all the different categories. And we'd have to kind of come up with a style that was something like this, kind of templated to an extent, but the challenge was to try and make it not look too templated. So kind of in this example, you can clearly see this is all templated. It's very, very time efficient to knock these out. But we did something similar in that we changed the colors to kind of complement the graphic. So rather than just going with black text on everything, here they've picked some colors that complement the actual image. So it kind of feels like a custom graphic, even though it's not. Similar here, they haven't kind of used a color from the cookie again, but they've just used a different color. They've gone with red, and red does seem to be quite sort of prominent throughout here. Slightly different call to action there, but always left aligned. The font, for the most part, is the same size, slightly smaller there. And yeah, this one, I think this is probably my favorite, just because it shows the product, but it's also very, very creative as well. I love the way these kind of scattered pistachios around there. That's really, really cool. And we've got some texture in the background. But doing it this way is it's very easy to kind of knock out lots of these graphics very, very quickly in a time efficient way. And actually the product photography does a lot of the work. That's where you want to spend the time. So what we used to do is we would kind of have the templates and the graphics pretty much set up like this, apart from the colors being picked. We'd have a whole load of different artboards with them on. And actually then we'd go and do like a photo shoot. Either in-house or at a studio, and that's where we'd spend the time getting the lighting and the composure right. We knew where the graphics were going to go, and actually the photo does literally 90% of the work. This is all just kind of predetermined. Ben says, I'm in Canada, Hamilton, Ontario, Toronto work-based. We went to visit the in-laws in White Rock, British Columbia. Where can I submit my designs? Submissions are closed at the moment, but I'll open them up. Calm down, Dan. Speak nice and slow. Submissions are closed at the moment, but they'll open again in, I think, a couple of weeks. We sort of do it in kind of waves, just so I don't get overloaded. But yeah, these are really, really nice. I mean, there's not a lot to these, and there's not a lot for me to criticize, really, or like give feedback on, like kind of what they're doing with the colors. There's a lot of contrast. They're visually eye-catching. I mean, I suppose if I was to kind of nitpick here, I would say this looks a bit photoshopped. The shadows in particular, they don't look realistic. Yeah, they don't look, they look a bit unnaturally hard there. And, I do apologize if that is a photo and these are the original shadows. But for example, looking at the shadow off this cookie versus the shadow here, if this is resting on the surface, this little chocolate drop here, that looks delicious. The shadow here wouldn't be so soft. It would be very, very dark around this edge. And actually the chocolate drop itself would be darker on this edge, and there would be a kind of highlight here. So that's what kind of leads me to believe that they might be photoshopped. Also, you can see here, yeah, the sort of the fringing around the edge. This kind of fringing, it's like a little halo around the edge. There's a really cool trick to sort that out. Let me just see if I can sample. I'll try and sample a cookie and show you this, because I use this all the time. There's a bunch of different ways to do this, but I got to show you this because I use it all the time and it's brilliant. Oh, it's not really pulled the halo through there, but let me just, do you know what? I'm going to add one. I'll just add one. Reset my list. Stroke. Yeah, bear with me. I've got to show you this because it's so cool. Oh, that's going to be a pain in the bum now, isn't it? Okay. Find Photoshop. You want to make it difficult. Oh, that's good, because I'm persistent. I'm not going to give up. Okay, so you might get something like this. When you do a cutout, you're not always going to get it clean, as good as Photoshop's tools are. So if you end up in this situation, right, what you want to do is use select subject. So grab one of the selection tools, it doesn't matter which one. From the drop down, we'll go with a detailed selection, select subject, and it does this. Now, sometimes what it will do is it will capture the halo in the selection, and we don't want that, of course. So all you do is go to select, modify, contract. The smallest amount you can do is 1 pixel, so you might need 1 or 2 pixels depending on the size of your image. And watch, when I click OK, it's going to bring that selection ever so slightly in. You see, it's bringing it just inside the edge. So now what we're going to do, if I were to add a layer mask now, you can see, great, it's added that layer mask, but you get like this unnaturally hard edge. Like that's the same thing when you use the pen tool. Edges of cutout products aren't that hard in reality, whereas Photoshop kind of cuts them out clean. So what you want to do is ever so slightly feather the edge. So now we've contracted the selection. Let's go to feather. This value again will change depending on the size of your image, so you might want to play around with a few different ones. I'm going to go with 0.3, and it doesn't look like anything's changed, but if I then go and add a layer mask, you can see it's got a slightly sort of softened, very slightly blurred edge all the way around the product. And I use this all the time. You might want to add more than 0.3. Again, it depends on the size of your product. But doing this, contracting that selection, will then isolate any kind of halo outside, so you kind of get rid of that. And then you're also just softening the edge just to make it look a bit more realistic. So that is a trick. If you like product retouching, photography or photo manipulation, that one is an absolute must. Anyway, so back to these. Yeah, they look great. Great contrast here. We've got the reds and the yellows. Yeah, a little bit of critique on the shadows, but you know, that's not too much of a pain to fix. Yeah, again, shadows here, they just look a little bit off. Like they're not. Do you know what I mean? they don't look quite right. They look down here, looks a bit murky, almost like it's been sort of brushed in, but inconsistently in places. Whereas shadows and lighting generally is quite predictable in how it behaves. So closer to the product is going to be really dark and hard edged. As you get out here, it's going to get softer and more feathered. Same here with the crown. You know, the crown, like it clearly looks Photoshop. You'd need to kind of flatten the bottom of that a little bit. And the shadow's coming a bit too much to the left rather than the angle. But I don't want to spend too long nitpicking that, because that's probably my only nitpick. Apart from that, they've got really nice consistency, and the product photography and the images used are really good. So hopefully that's helpful. Sema says, those cookies are perfect with tea. Oh, don't. I'd love a cup of tea and a biscuit. It'd be lovely. It's all right. I've got my sparkling water. Joe Tim Mayer says, did you design your wallpaper? No, I didn't actually. That is macOS Monterey. Scott Newsom, is Scrumptious the brand? There is no brand identity. It could be anyone's cookies. Yeah, I think you'd need the full website. I think these graphics would be like on a site somewhere. So, you know, whether that website has more of a brand identity with its kind of header and other surrounding elements, I don't know. But I'm kind of looking at these in isolation. Zach, hello. Juan, hello. Hellos all round. Chocolate hobnobs are the best. Oh, why'd you have to go and say that? Do you know, I do love a good chocolate digestive, but the only problem is that if I have one, I have to eat all of them. Right, cool. Right, let's move on. What have we got? Oh, this one is going to be interesting, because when I saw this, I was like, what? What sort of size? Yeah, that's good. So the company is called Asta Store. Whiskers is now available at Asta Pet Store. This graphic is an interesting one. Like, we'll get to the retouching, and I swear that cat is a meme from something. But I mean, it's very, like obviously the cat food isn't really the focus here. Like there's obviously like the cute girl over here with the cat ears. She's holding the product down here, and like she is the like focal point. Like, you know, the product is comparatively small, and this is a great photo. I don't know if it's like AI generated or an actual photo, and I think she's holding the product and you've got the logo down there. But it just feels a bit weird, you know? Like I would expect, instead of her holding the product, I would expect to see like, I don't know, like an actual cat. Like Shiva, yes. It's a little bit kinky, isn't it? Like I would expect to, I don't know, see like an actual feline there. You know, I mean, well, no, the cat isn't the target market, I suppose. You're not targeting cats, are you? But do you know what I mean? Whereas we got the cat sort of peeping up from down here. But anyway. So if we look at the product, obviously the surface, I like the idea of the kind of wooden surface in the product, but the angles are all off. These kind of products here are shot from a much higher angle. So I'm guessing they've got them on Google, kind of plonked them there. This surface is shot from a much lower down position. So they've kind of added the shadows and things, but first of all, you need to get the angle right. So you need to kind of have the product photography match the angle of the surface. That's the kind of main thing. And then the shadows, they kind of look like just a drop shadow's been applied, you know, blending options, drop shadow done. As I mentioned a minute ago, I'm not going to harp on about shadows too much, but they need to be more gradual. Close to the product, it's much darker with a harder edge, and as you move further away, the shadows tend to get a lot softer. Cat girl and cat. I didn't know the cat girl ate cat food. I don't know. Maybe she does. Shadows should be painted. Don't rely on drop shadows. Yeah, there's a few different ways you can do shadows. Actually, there's loads of different ways to do shadows. One way that I tend to do is use an exposure adjustment layer. We'll darken it like this, and I would isolate a particular area. So let's try and demonstrate this. Oh, no, what am I doing? Yeah, obviously this isn't really the right setup, but I would clip that. No, I wouldn't. No, that goes underneath. There we go. So what I would then do is I've kind of made it darker. I'd probably make it much darker, to be honest, really dark. And then I would use the gradient tool and black to white and use that to kind of draw in the shadows. So obviously I'm doing this on the whole image, which you wouldn't do, but you can see here, using the new gradient slider, I can control the shadows much easier. So just pretend it's not applying to the whole image. So I could bring this in nice and tight here, or I could kind of stretch it out. And it just gives you a lot more control over how you kind of adjust your position and your lighting. And if I just go and grab a normal brush. Oops. Get rid of that. Yeah, so you can use exposure adjustment layers. That's one way. Sometimes I just brush them in with black and apply a bunch of effects. It really depends on the design. But I've actually done a Photoshop tutorial for 3 different shadow techniques. So if you go to my Photoshop playlist, there is actually a video that goes over a few different ways to add shadows. Tommy says, man, I freaking love your channel. Thank you. Greetings from Argentina. Oh, hello. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Lots of food in that bag. Is it for a lion? Well, it might possibly be. But anyway, let's kind of focus on the sort of the other design elements. So, Asta Pet Store. Whiskers is now, yeah, the alignment here doesn't feel quite right. It's a tricky one with the A. Do you align to the left edge, or you kind of usually hover around here somewhere? It's a bit of some letters can be a bit weird to align to. I think as a graphic, the logo is too small. There's just not enough clarity on this. Not a massive fan of the logo either, if I'm honest. The cat here I would kind of blend that through so you get some of the crumpled texture from the bag and the shadows coming through onto the logo. It will make that look more realistic. Yeah, the buy now button. Yeah, so I think with something like this, personally, I wouldn't go lowercase and uppercase. I would probably keep them the same. You could change the color and have one and the other and whatever, but I would bring them closer together. The leading on these is too much. Tighten them up a little bit. Maybe make them both lowercase, both uppercase. Keep the white and the yellow, that's fine. But then if you tighten them up a little bit, you've actually got a bit more space to kind of then expand that in this red circle. And you can make it, just to fill it a little bit better. It doesn't feel central either at the moment, so I would keep those both central. But yeah, I think generally when you do this, you either go for like realism, or you just kind of throw a bunch of images together. Like the perspective of the table and the products and the bowl, or the plate, sorry, is off. But then where the girl is standing is kind of impossible in relation to the surface, and the cat is giant. So there's obviously no sort of scale here. And again, the cat is kind of down here with her. Yeah, so I think you can do stuff like this, and you can disregard scale, or you can kind of go the more realistic route. I mean, I think personally in reality, I would remove her holding the bag of whatever that is. Looks like pig feed or something. I would remove that, and I would do some really nice kind of photoshopped Whiskers products with nice cinematic lighting, and then have an actual cat in there as well. A cat that looks happy, like it's appetized by the cat food. But again, you know, most of this would come down to, I think, photography. You know, I mean, Whiskers is now available at Asda Pet Store. It's very functional, it's simple, it does what it needs to do, but I think you could replace all of this with one beautiful, well retouched photo. That's all you need. And then obviously make the logo a bit bigger. A bit bigger like that. But yeah, just get rid of all this and just one just really appealing photo, I think would make it look a bit more professional. But I mean, it's very creative. It's very creative, and there's a good amount of contrast as well. To give it points, you've got you've got contrast, you've got the buy now. But yeah, it feels like a mixture of ideas. It feels like the cat was like a bit of an afterthought, you know. Have you made martial arts logos or designs? Martial arts. Do you know, going back about 16 years, I did do some martial arts posters. Yeah, I kind of see them up around the gym. I train in Muay Thai, and I've been doing it for about 2 years. And at the gym, they've got those sorts of, fight night posters and things up. So I always see them, and it's kind of like oh yeah, I remember I used to do that. I used to kind of have to cut out all the different fighters and then sort of face them off against each other. But not for a while. Where can we submit designs for review? Nowhere at the moment, but they will be open for submissions again in like a couple of weeks. Scott says Whiskers should be larger and leave out the is, adding emphasis. Whiskers now available. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's fair. You don't need the is word. McKenna, maybe no random cat girl. Just a thought. Absolutely. The ad is about Whiskers. Yeah, the Asda Pet Store is giant. Yeah. Yeah, I think sort of it's the same kind of thing in terms of the hierarchy and the structure and scale. It does feel very random. Is this for an adult pet store? If so, keep the cat girl, I guess. That's a very good question. This cat just like peeping in from the corner. Creepy cat. Oh, funny. Right, boom. Next up, ooh, PSD file. I wonder if I can have a play. Mwahaha. Okay. Oh, hang on. Before we do the next one, shameless plug for the course. So I've made a course, finally, teaching everything I know about Adobe Illustrator. You can find it here, and there's a code for 15% off linked in the video or stream description. This course will teach you everything I know about Illustrator in the space of, I think, probably about 5 to 6 hours. I made a lot of mistakes over the last 17 years. I did things wrong for so long. And this course will ensure that you don't make those mistakes and waste years doing things the hard way. So yeah, I'm very happy to get this finally completed and out into the wild. So if you'd like to join the course and the private community where you can just ask me questions at any point in any day, any week, whenever, I'm always there to help, then there is a link. Right. Okay, next up. Grills by Annie. Nice. That's an interesting logo, actually. It's not the kind of style I would typically go for, but there's something about it that it's giving me like Pac-Man vibes, you know, with the kind of the barbecue kind of opening up. I don't know. Maybe it just needs a just needs a little eye there. But yeah, okay, right, let's have a look. Got the logo, grilled perfection at your doorsteps. Doorstep or doorsteps. I think probably if you're talking to someone reading this, it would be doorstep. So I'd probably knock the S off. Grilled, chicken, turkey, guinea fowl, snails. Wow, that is an interesting cuisine. Anyone in the chat ever tried snails before? I can't say that I have personally, but how do you rate eating snail or escargot? I like to see the smoke carry through the image to the top. Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, it sort of comes off a bit short, doesn't it? It would make the background a bit more interesting as well. Maybe if it just came a little bit higher up. I do love this sort of glow. Nice subtle glow there. Really complements the logo. Initial impressions is... I mean, it's a weird one. Because of the way it's been designed, that yellowy capital text... Hang on, I'm just going to get my marker pen out. We're going to go into teacher mode now. I'm going to mark up. You see this text here? I think that text would... I look at it and I go, well, it's not central because it's inside a container, so you need to move it up a little bit. But then the problem is, because you've got this other grilled design element here, well, if you move that up so it's central, it's going to be way too tight up against the bottom of that. So a quick way to fix this would be to move the text up here, because it has a box and a container, so I'm looking at that, right? You could just get rid of this, get rid of that box altogether, or what you could do is move it up, keep the grey box around the edge, and then this bit here, just nudge that up a little bit. That was meant to be an arrow. I'm really sorry. That's awful. So just nudge that box up a little bit, you know, because I get why it's kind of central here with the kind of line cutting through the middle of it, but actually you could probably get away with it just nudging up, and just so it overlaps ever so slightly, and then this bit kind of sits centrally, which is nice. I feel like there's quite a lot of different styles going on. Like, I don't like laying down too many rules as far as design goes, but you know what they say about like 2 to 3 fonts max? I think you can bend that. You can push to 4 and even 5 in some cases, as long as it is necessary. But what do we got here? We've got 1. We've got capital red, capital yellow, bolder. We've got this one here, which is again a different size. This one here, which looks more condensed. This one here, which is actually larger than that one. So what's that? If I can count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then we've got this in lowercase. So 7. And it doesn't need to be like that, right? So what I would do, kind of looking at this, is I would make that exactly, they're almost the same size, make them the same. And this one here, Yep, you can have different colors, but go with the same font. So immediately we've just kind of combined two. So we've got 7 fonts down to 5. You know, there's no need for a condensed version and a non-condensed version. We've got a whole bunch of different styles going on as well. We've got the kind of rounded pill here. We've got the rounded rectangle as a stroke here. We've got the rounded rectangle with a solid fill. And like the double one as well going on here. And it's just like, for goodness sake, pick a style. So I think actually the tweaks needed here are super minor, but I think they would have a massive difference. So in summary, I think move this text and the grilled pill up. I'll try and draw an acceptable arrow there. This needs to match that size there. Same font, different colors are fine, but just same sort of treatment. That one needs to match there. So we've brought 7 fonts down to 5. And stylistically, this order now does stand out really nicely. So what I would probably do is, instead of having the rounded pill here, I'd probably go with some. Actually, no, I'd do this. I'd keep this same style here. So we've got the kind of black or transparent with the grey stroke. I would actually add that to this. So this bit here talking about grilled chicken, turkey, guinea fowl and snails, that is all treated the same stylistically. And I wonder actually if there's a way you could even combine this text, frozen chicken and frozen turkey, get that in there with the yellow, just so we have one less element. In fact, I've just realized this is a PSD file. Oh my. Right, hang on. Dansky. Right, let's try and do this. Let's do some speed design. Put my money where my mouth is. Let's see, what do we got? Do we have blending options? Oh, we do. Excellent. Okay. Right. So we'll see if I can just speed run this and then do a before and an after. Let's add a fill. Oh, I love doing this. I love doing this. Right, what I'm going to do is... Oh, I don't have the font. Red Hat Display. Oh, that's unfortunate. Hang on. Let me see if I can find it. Red Hat Display. Oh, it's a Google font. Excellent. Download family. Ba, ba, ba. Do, 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 do. Oh no, where's it gone? Ah, there we go. Red Hat Display. Okay, let's get those installed. Oh, I love doing this. Hopefully you don't mind me redesigning this. Mark says, I feel like they would fall through the grates. Yes, quite possibly. We haven't even got to the product image yet. Right, what was I doing? Replace Red Hat Display. Okay, I might have to just open it up again now I've got that font. Please work. Red Hat Display. No. Why? I downloaded the font. Whoa, what is going on there? Oh no, this has caused all sorts of madness. What? That's not bold. Right. Emergency font substitution. I'm using Satoshi. There we go. Centralize that. Grilled. Right, we'll change the color. There. I don't like the fact that that is out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and bring this in. Chicken. Let's bring that up. Duplicate down. It's going to give me font issues again, but we're going to go with Satoshi because it's kind of similar. It's a very kind of clean and simple sans serif font. Let's delete that, move it up. Frozen chicken carton, right. Frozen chicken carton, frozen turkey. So we'll kind of treat that the same. We've got to get the spacing right as well. So it's way too tight at the minute. Something like that looks good. We'll bring the size down maybe just a pinch. Nope, that's too much. 19, that's good. So we'll match that there, of course. We're going to match that there. Make sure everything's all central. Line that up. So now you can see what I was saying. It's kind of too tight to the top. Might change that to white. We could actually, ooh, I keep selecting the background by mistake. Let's lock that for a second. Nope, still selecting the background. Let's group that together, lock that. I get that all the time. Yeah, so you can get away with moving this up. And as I said before in some of the other streams, it's always good to try and find ways you can line things up. So here, for example, I'm lining the bottom of that text up with the border. So that's what I try to do anyway. I try to kind of build relationships between different parts of the design. Round and rectangle. Okay, so we could do that. We've got a radius of 32. It's very difficult to select that rectangle. That's because I've just locked it. There we go. So we'll go 32 on that one as well. Mr. E says, agree, the hierarchy is good. Just adjust the spacing would be nice. Yep, McKenna agrees. He's missing the fonts. He is. He is, but he's making do. Right, what do we got here? We've got Satoshi. Let's move that down. Delivery available in Lagos. Delivery available in Lagos. And I quite like doing stuff like this because what I'm sort of trying to demonstrate with this little speed design is that actually the tweaks to make to kind of get this looking, in my opinion, a bit slicker aren't actually that much. And I'm sort of, genuinely, I'm a very technical designer. Grill perfection at your doorstep, right. Can I transform that? We're going to make that much bigger because that is pretty important. Annie's, the logo is really kind of not that important. People love their own logo, customers don't care. Good thing to remember. So we got this here. I'm not totally sold on everything being capitalized, if I'm honest. But we can come back to that. So what we're doing is, you can see we're breaking it up. We're kind of adjusting the spacing, and now everything's just got a bit more room to breathe and kind of stand on its own. Yeah, do we get rid of that? Transform. Social links. Where can we put those? Oh, I see. We've got a rectangle as well. Yeah, we might get away with putting that down there. That might get in the way. Not sure. What do we got? Images here as well. Social links. Let's separate those apart a little bit. And what we could try and do is use an exposure adjustment layer, sort of similar to what I demoed earlier. Grab that gradient tool and we're going to draw just a little bit of darkening there. We're going to draw darkening? That doesn't make any sense. So I like using this technique because you can actually add like you can see here like a darkened fade, but you kind of want it so it's not too noticeable. But what it does is it kind of helps that text or those social links really kind of stand out. Delivery available in Lagos. Delivery. In Lagos. I feel like that's kind of like, that's sort of like secondary information. You know, it's important. But is it that important? Dilshan says, Dan, do you have auto select on? Do you find it useful? It always bugs me out. I select things I don't want. Yeah, I have it always on. Auto select by layer, not by group. It's I've always worked like that. Yeah, I don't like selecting things from the layer. I mean, sometimes I have to, but with that on, I can just work directly on the canvas. It just makes me a lot faster. McKenna says, I go between turning it off and on depending on what I want. Oh, interesting. Okay. Not like in the move of frozen chicken into the box. Inside was grilled. Chicken is another product. That is a good point. At the moment, anyway. But it's really just kind of adjusting the spacing. So let's convert that back to layers actually, because I need to move this link here. So we'll stack up the social links. We could have this down here. Right. I'm not going to sub those fonts. I'm not going to change fonts. I don't have to just for time, but I'm going to try and match the size here. So this sort of footer section of the design is using sort of similar font sizes. It's still quite large. I probably would make it probably a bit smaller. You know, it's the kind of thing that needs to be on there, but not sort of in your face, you know. If they want the social links, boom, they're there. But we're not shouting about the social links. It's more about the product. Lined up. Spacing left and right edge, those margins. They're pretty tight. Bottom as well. So I want that kind of, that right bottom and left edge to have a consistent margin. And then, okay, so we've got the order now. We've still got that product image. We could do more with that. We could add more smoke. Do I have a smoke brush? Do you know, I might do actually. I get all my brushes from, pretty much all of them anyway, from Envato Elements. So, I mean, I can't recommend that platform enough. Oh, not that kind of smoke. Oh no, I don't know if I have the kind of, there's some really nice kind of smoky brushes. Oh, I know the ones. Envato Elements. Yeah, if anyone's interested in Envato Elements, they're great for this kind of stuff. So I'll just kind of demo this. Link in the description if you want to check them out. But go to add-ons and we'll type smoke brushes. Filter there and there, and we got these ones. I think, yeah, some of these are the ones I'm thinking of. 32 smoke brushes, lovely. Download that. YouTube. If you do any kind of Photoshop work, that platform is just like, it's an absolute godsend. It's brilliant. It's just like an all-in-one. Right. So now we should have smoke brushes. They've got hundreds of these. We can just kind of stamp in some smoke. Sort of need to try and find a decent one. And to be honest, anything I do here is just going to be kind of doing it very quickly. I would definitely spend a lot longer. I'll probably spend more time on the retouching, to be honest, than the actual layout itself. Yeah, so as you can see, you can just add in some really subtle smoke, and you can definitely spend longer on it and do it properly. But like I said, I'm not going to focus on that too much now. Yeah. But yeah, you could build that up so it kind of, this bit here feels a bit random, this bit of smoke. So Oh, I see. There we go. Okay, we've got the smoke brushes on a separate layer. That's interesting. So that is kind of real smoke, I think. Oh, I see. They've added like a fire effect. Huh, interesting. Okay. I might get rid of the fire effect, to be honest. I mean, we could even, actually... We could even try some of the generative stuff. Oops. Oh goodness, what have I done? What have I done with my groups? Yeah, let's give this a go. Let's see if it can redraw the bottom part of the image. So I'm going to make that selection and contextual generative fill. We'll leave it blank and click generate, and let's see what it does. Job done, lol. Danny, hello, welcome. We've just done a bit of review so far for generally kind of graphic design, bit of web graphics, and this is kind of me just kind of attempting to very quickly kind of tidy up a poster or a flyer, a leaflet of some description. McKenna says, I just bought a year of Envato and it's a lifesaver. I'm in school, honestly struggling to find stuff online for free. Now I just go there. It's brilliant. If you're only using free assets, it's fine because of course it's free, but you're just going to get much more professional stuff when you pay a little bit a month. You're going to get the quality of the assets you get is just going to go up. So let's pick one of these. Yeah, so it's all right. It's filled in a little bit of it, but that'll be fine for now. We'll leave that as it is. This red, I'm definitely going to make that a bit brighter and punchier. Satoshi. Black. It's bold as well. I think I've gone black then, so I've made that a lot bolder. Let's try and get that up in the black space. Grilled and frozen, right. So I've got to figure out a way now to separate these two. Grilled perfection at your doorstep. Let's push that a bit closer. Yeah, what's the best way to do this? What is the best way? We need to kind of separate this out. Unless we change the title to grilled and frozen. And then we just kind of did something like this. That might be unclear in terms of they don't necessarily do frozen snails per se, and it's more the other food. So we could do something like that. Again, that would be the kind of case where it'd be like a question for the client. So what I'm trying to do is basically take all of the individual bits of design and group things together and condense it down to make everything just simpler. So these are, yeah, they're quite difficult to see now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have to brush in. There we go. Yeah, so you can see the difference that makes there. Super handy. So let's just lighten up the product. We don't want it covering the product, but it just makes it much... it's just a really cheeky, clever way to kind of make those details stand out, but you're not kind of having too much of a negative effect on the product image. And I suppose you could add more product images here like the original design had. There's lots of different things you could do with the product image. And I probably want to balance the spacing on this a bit more. Yeah, there's a lot of little things I would do to this. But in terms of kind of the information, let's just open up the original. I don't want to spend too long on this, but do you see what I mean? So if I just switch between the two, this was the original one with everything kind of packed quite tightly together, lots of different styles, lots of different fonts, more focus on the logo than I think the kind of real selling point of the product. And then here what I've done is just kind of very quickly streamline everything out, try to give it a bit more structure in terms of, I mean, you could even make this even bigger. You know, if you really wanted to grab attention, you could make that huge. And it's the kind of thing I would print out. Actually, I would print out a version that's smaller and a version that's larger, and I would hold this physically in my hand and see how it looks. But it's really just kind of, yeah, taking all of the different styles from fonts, from UI elements, imagery, all this stuff, and just condensing it down and trying to simplify it and then just give it a bit more structure. I enjoyed that. Hopefully that was helpful. Was that helpful, or was that really boring watching me do it? Honestly, let me know. But I had fun. I miss doing this kind of stuff. Oh, there it is. I was looking for me drinks mat and getting water all over the desk. Very helpful. Oh, good. Amazing. Yeah, I love doing this kind of stuff. So, yeah, I'll save that one. It's the kind of thing. It's the kind of thing. Now I've got started on it, I kind of really want to work on it more, but we will move on to the next one. That was good fun. So yeah, thank you for that submission. Olamide Elegby. Okay. Next up, we've got more food. And we've got 4 different versions here. So these are kind of the same, but with different colorways. I don't think any of these work except this one. You know, the blue. It's not really kind of, not really a hungry color. That yellow doesn't look particularly appealing. The green, this ain't healthy. So we'll go with the red. I think the red kind of really fits nicely. Yeah, and this is an interesting one. So hide bar. Again, I'm not sure what the context is for this graphic. We've got logo here. So, okay. First of all, we've got logo here. I don't know what the relevance of that is. So add a logo or get rid of it. Up here, we've got social graphics. I don't know what these are social graphics for. What is the company? You know, everyone's got a Facebook or a YouTube pretty much these days, or an Instagram. Most companies do. But I have no way of knowing how do I find that? What do I look for? What's the name? Like on the last design, they had the name. This is just not helpful. So you need to kind of add more context to that or get rid of it. The burger and shake, it's all right. It's got a nice bit of character. I think there's probably, yeah, there's a bit of a conflict here with the treatment of this. We've got this kind of solid kind of style here, and then we've got the gradient with the stroke. I feel like they're 2 different styles. I think you could probably have a really kind of playful, solid typeface there that kind of uses that black and white. Yeah, because the typeface here, this feels different, or the treatment of it actually feels different to this kind of these apostrophes. Yeah, and I feel like the text and the apostrophes could hang together as one quite nicely. What's that P? It's not pesetas, is it? Is that a Polish currency? What is P? Order now. This treatment is more kind of what you'd find like in terms of UI design, like an app or a website. So I think that treatment, I mean, it looks like a button. So if this is something that is meant to be clicked, I do apologize. But if it's not, I would consider treating that a bit differently. You know, good old classic red circle. Order now. I've got the default font, Myriad Pro. Boom, 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 boom. And then just close up that gap. So before, earlier on, do you remember I said that it looked something like that? And they had the yellow in one color. One was uppercase, one was lowercase. It's kind of something like that. What I would do is I would just tighten this space up, keep them both the same case, whether it's upper or lower, just keep them both consistent, and then you can bring that up quite big. And again, if you're tight for space, just bring in that tracking, bring the letters closer together. Obviously not so much that they overlap, but what you're doing is you're reducing the space between letters and the space between lines. And because you're packing the text closer together, what it means you can do is then as you pack it tighter and tighter, it means you can bring it up in size. So you're kind of creating space by tightening up the text. You know, so if I bring this even tighter, I probably could squidge that together even more. And it just enables me to kind of just squeeze out every little bit of size. Too big. But so I've left it deliberately with a bit of breathing room around the edge. Please don't do that. I mean, you can do, but just please, for me, just maybe a little bit. Yeah, you want a little bit of space around the edge, and of course make sure it's centrally aligned. So we've got that there, and then we could even rotate that on an angle. What that does sometimes is, because in a lot of designs you can see everything's very horizontal, isn't it? Everything, the text, the words, is all just horizontal, the lines horizontal. Adding in like an angle of that, it disrupts that kind of everything being horizontal. So sometimes throwing in that horizontal, an angled UI element can kind of contrast quite nicely against everything else that might be horizontal or vertical. I mean, then, you know, we could put that there, but it sort of gets a bit lost. So I'd probably move that one, that 30 there, and then have the order now or something over here in place of where that is. Maybe move the price somewhere else, because this order now contrasts really, really nicely. Oops. It stands out very nicely against that smoothie. Not sure about the placement though. So yeah. You could find somewhere for that. Or maybe that is the best place. Maybe down here somewhere. Or maybe there. Lots of maybes. Or what you could do is you could even kind of map this onto the drink, maybe. I don't know if that's a bad idea or not. Sometimes we just have to try these things. So let's convert that to a smart object, and then we'll grab the warp, and we'll just kind of grab from that central point and this point here, and we'll just try and sort of add a little bit of curvature there, like that. Before, after, nice. Blending modes. And then we'll see if we can just blend a bit through the drink. There we go. Just so we're getting that texture coming through. Not too much, of course, but just a little bit like that. It just makes it look more like it's sitting on the surface like some kind of sticker. And then I'm going to need to just make a selection of the burger. Boom. Nice quick selection. Very useful tool if you're in a rush. We'll invert that selection, add a layer mask, and then we've got that kind of working as a sticker. And yeah, maybe that wouldn't be on there like that. You could perhaps add the logo or something on there to make it feel a bit more authentic. but it's one way that you can actually integrate a design element into the product. So I'm actually doing exactly the same thing as before. I'm just taking all of the different elements and trying to condense them where I can. So, you know, from what I was actually saying, let's grab that logo. We'll make a selection. Let's see if AI can help me out, because this is not a PSD. Has a Facebook button bottom left. The burger and the shake is barely fitting in. Yeah, it does feel quite tight, doesn't it? Content's way too close to the edges. Yeah, oh yeah, I see what you mean, especially down here. So let's do that. I mean, this is my favorite use of generative fill, is actually just removing stuff. Gotta go, no battery left. Oh no, well have a good day and thank you for joining the stream anyway. You did not just ask if that is the Polish currency. Did I ask a stupid thing? What currency is it? Am I being really dumb? Wait, hang on. Oh no, I said pesetas, didn't I? is that the... Oh my god, I'm such an idiot. Sorry, zloty. Zloty's the Polish currency. I was thinking P. I didn't know what P was. It's like it looks like a dollar sign, but with a P. Oh, is that what it is? The Philippine peso. What an idiot. Pesetas. Oh my goodness. Oh, you idiot, Dan. Look, the brain sometimes says these things and they come out. It's you know, it is what it is. Right, let's see if generative fill will actually remove that and replace the pattern. I don't know if it will, but that would be nice. Mark and Monica would be shocked. That's some of Poppy's family who live in Poland. Paul says, I wonder what the logo bottom right is. Also, the business needs a more professional email. Yes. Loot Hunter 012. Oh, look at that. Whoa. Okay, that's good. That is impressive. See, that is where I like the AI stuff. I know before I've said I'm kind of a bit exhausted with it all, and I really am. But that has just saved me a ton of time. And it's replaced the pattern as well. Normally I'd have to retouch that, and it's boring and not fun. And that's impressive. I like that. Yeah, so we've already kind of streamlined a lot of the design. So if we go back to this, before and after. So we're kind of just moving bits around. I'd love to spend a bit of time doing something with that, but I don't want to spend too long on it. But it is all very, very tight. It's close to the edge. In terms of the shadows, this is all flat, so there's not a lot I can do there. But I'm going to try. I'll try and brush in some shadows. This is much easier without a trackpad, but... Okay, how would I do this? How would I do this? Right. Think. Okay, so I'm going to use the lasso tool. We'll try this. I think the light is coming from the left, so I'm going to try and very crudely brush in some kind of shadow. Ooh, hang on. It's got a bit wonky there at the end, but don't worry, we can grab that. Yeah, this is a tough one. Good challenge, though. I do like this. So we're going to paint that in with black. And then I'm going to select, with quick selection, I'm going to select the products. So I've got that selection there, which is pretty decent. Yeah, that's all right. And let's punch that out. Then I'm going to try and make a selection of the plate, if I can do that. The quick selection tool's definitely gotten a lot better. It's much better now than it ever was before. And let's delete the end. Okay, so I've isolated a black blob to the plate. So that's a start. Now I'm going to convert this to a smart object, and I can apply smart filters, which are editable. One that I love is this one, Tilt Shift. This is brilliant. So what I can do is I can actually move the kind of start point there. Let's crank up the blur, and you can see this is a great way to create gradual blur. So where do I want the blur to start? That's this line here. Something like there. And then the end point where the blur kind of ends. Oh, this is tough. This is tough because there's two products, so I'm trying to do two shadows at once. So I don't know if this is going to work. We'll try that, and then what I'll do is I'll add a Gaussian blur just to kind of grab that first bit as well, because that is a bit too hard. Something like that. And then add a layer mask and use the gradient tool. So I'll focus more on this second one. Tough. This is tough. And I'm going to get in there with the brush tool and see if I can actually try and salvage this. Because remember, there's an existing shadow there as well. Yeah, so what I'd probably need to do is also add an exposure adjustment layer. We'll darken that one down. And again, I'm going to make a selection of the products. We'll see if this works. There we go. Yeah, not too bad. It could be worse. But as a quick fix. So I'm trying to darken rather than just kind of adding a shadow, right? What I'm trying to do is actually darken that bottom edge as well. So it kind of leans into that shadow a bit more. And I think I would probably have to add some more shadowing to the plate as well. Let's just see if I can brush it in. Nice low opacity. Because I think the plate looks like a kind of 3D object as well. I do love a challenge. So there's that darkened the plate a little bit. Probably a little bit too much. But yeah, if these were on separate layers, what I would do is do the shadow for the drink and then the shadow for the burger separately. But they're not. So it's quite dark around that bottom left edge, but oh well, it was fun trying. Yeah, that's a really great trick actually, Michael. That's a good way to do shadows sometimes. If these were separate on their own layers, what I probably should have done really is kind of cut them out, but then they're still kind of together. But you can actually just grab a soft brush and squish this down, and you can stamp in shadows quite easily like this. Yeah, that would probably work here. It'd just be a lot easier if these were on a separate layer. But anyway, I don't want to spend too long kind of banging on about that because, you know, Otherwise the whole stream is going to be shadows. But yeah, adding them like that, it kind of just, it's made the product darker. But my point is that the shadows, they would need to be done properly. So if you've got those two images on separate layers, definitely kind of spend a bit of time doing the shadows. And I'll try and use a realistic plate as well. This looks like a 3D graphic. And seeing as everything else is so realistic, I would just keep the realism with a 3D plate. And you could even add a shadow under the plate if you wanted. But yeah. So possible before with a few unnecessary bits, and after, and then yeah, again, the spacing on these. I think a few people said these are quite tight already. I wish burgers really looked like that. I would eat fast food every day. Well, it's probably a good thing they don't then. I'm trying to decide if the shake is huge or the burger is small. No, I think the burger is actually massive. Like, I got to be honest, Paul, if I tried to eat a burger that was that tall, like, you know, like this, well, one, it wouldn't fit in my mouth. I've got a pretty big mouth, but it wouldn't fit. But two, like, it would just fall apart. Do you ever do that where you kind of bite into the burger and then, like, the patty or whatever it is, it just, like, falls out the back? And then it's like, oh, God, like, I'm just, all right, I'm just going to get messy now. And I just eat it like a savage then. The toppings are 5 times the height of the patty. It is absurdly tall. You're right. Who builds a burger with the cheese on top of the vegetables and not melting on the meat? Yeah, that is very true, actually. It's a nice distribution of color, and that lettuce looks incredible. I've never seen lettuce look that delicious in my entire life. Certainly not from a fast food place. But yeah. Wow. Yeah, fast food really is terrible, isn't it? It never ever looks like that. And it's full of rubbish. But anyway, yeah. So yeah, quite a lot of little critiques there. You know, remove the logo, or add a logo, or just remove that because it's not really doing anything for the concept. These need more context. On their own, they're not really very helpful. So I would get rid of those. Keep your contact information down there if you want to. Just tighten up the spacing, bring it a bit closer together, and then have more consistent margins around the edge. It feels very tight at the moment. This order now, I would kind of do some sort of treatment slightly differently. Have it on the product or kind of a badge floating by the product. And yeah, same again here. You know, if we're going to get rid of that order now thing, you could actually move the product down, which would then create a bit more space at the top. To bring this text down because it is quite tight. What I would also do is I would move the burger shake text behind the straw, because it doesn't matter if the straw is covering part of the word. You know, the eye will fill in the blanks. The human brain is very clever, and it actually would create some depth in the design by having that straw overlap the text. Kind of makes it feel like the text is behind the actual product. And I did a video recently actually on the channel about depth in design. So and it's a really kind of good thing you can lean into actually if your design work's looking a bit flat, to really kind of lean in and add more depth to the work. And lastly, it was really just the kind of the font treatment here. So we've got the gradient with the white offset stroke thing. Personally, I would lead in with this orange and this white, solid colors. Same treatment here as you've got with the apostrophes, and again, pick a kind of sort of quirky font with some more organic, handcrafted feel to it, just like these apostrophes. I don't know what font these apostrophes were, if they were a font, but just something like that. And yeah, this currency is not pesetas. And I am an idiot. Thank you and good night. That's it, burger fight. So many horrible ingredients on that burger, says Nick. Yeah, not to mention we were just discussing they never ever look like that. That lettuce looks amazing. I cannot believe how incredible that lettuce looks. But I've never seen lettuce look that good in my life. Ha! Right, that was fun. Next up. Oh my goodness, how is it nearly 4:30? How have we been going for an hour and 20 minutes? My goodness. I mean, they say time flies when you're having fun, so I've got to show you this one next. I've got to show you this one. Okay, this is amazing. So someone... Oh, it's the same person! It's the same person. Loot Hunter 012. I didn't realize it's the same person. Lloyd. So he's taken... I presume he's taken a photo of some different deodorants and photoshopped them into the Axe army. I mean, that is cool. That is that's a lot of fun. I like that. Food dressing for photography is a whole profession. I can imagine it is. I used to photograph tools. And sometimes taps. You ever tried photographing a tap, a reflective tap, where you end up being in the reflection in the photo, and so you have to try and cleverly light the tap, so the studio lights, the camera, and you are not in the tap. It's not fun. That's such a cool concept. Someone played Mini Militia. Yeah, so it's one of those things. It's like, you know, I'm not gonna critique this too much with too much sincerity, because it is just a bit of fun. I think, like, it's like they've got I love this is my favorite. This one on the end here, right? This one on the end here. To me, that is Poppy. That is Popinder. That one on the end. I can see her kind of wielding an M16. With that lippy on and the hat. I can imagine that. Yeah, you like that. That is literally you, Poppy. Yeah, amazing. So they've kind of mixed. They've obviously got photos of different guns and things here, and cigarettes, and it's kind of very clip arty and fun, and you know, it's good. They got different hats on. I love that. It's fun. And you know, we've got a truck, headlights, explosive cinders and fires. It's epic. And I think because it is a bit of fun as well, and you've kind of mixed. It's not, if it was going for like total realism, and you had like realistic faces and things, and you know, but because it's kind of mixing the clip art sort of style and the googly eyes a bit with some degree of realism, kind of. Do you know what I mean? I'm gonna take that as a bit of fun. But yeah, I do like it. 10 out of 10 for creativity. Who knew deodorant could be so dangerous? Axe would use this. She should have a Tommy gun. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, with that hat as well. Definitely a Tommy gun. You're the one next to it. Well, this one here? Or like the one with the crazy eyes and the cigarette? You are his little Axe body spray machine gun criminal. Oh, I love that. Thank you for sending that one in. That was that did make me laugh out loud when I first saw it. I really enjoyed that. Okay, next up. Oh, I love this one. I love this. So I'm guessing this is by, well, I don't know actually. I'm not sure if Tom Dixon is the brand or if Tom Dixon is the creator who's popped his name on there. Regardless, Tom Dixon, this is beautiful. I love this, the simplicity of this. Dylan, furniture for future. Furniture for future. I mean the tagline. I don't understand the tagline. Does that make sense? Furniture for future. What? Like, of course I'm buying the furniture for the future because the future's concurrently happening. Like, anyway, yeah, so not sure about the tagline, but design-wise, I mean, maybe this is the brand. Maybe that is the chair name. Some companies kind of give their products names like this, like, you know, this sofa is the Roger, and then this chair is the Margaret or something. So I don't know. Maybe this chair is the Dylan. I think IKEA do that. But yeah, slightly confusing tagline aside, I love the kind of semicircle. The way that the chair kind of just pops out the edge as well, it kind of really helps sell that sense of depth. We've got some pretty decent shadows here. These look kind of like they're done with Michael's tip earlier on of taking the brush tool, squishing it down. So for anyone who missed that, you got your default soft brush, squish it down like this. And what you can do is you can stamp in this kind of shape and then just erase it away on one side and then free transform it like this. And then pop them in there. I feel like the angle should be more consistent. The angles feel different for everyone. I'd probably tweak it a little bit. You know, the shadows should be darker there and a bit lighter here. I don't know. Maybe I need to do a course, or not a course, a video on shadows or something, or I don't know, dedicate a stream to it. It seems to be something that quite a few people sort of struggle with, just getting them looking realistic, especially when things are being photoshopped together. But yeah, you got the shadow for each leg, and you got the shadow for the main thing underneath being softer. So, you know, I think that's a good attempt, but I think it does still look a bit photoshopped, just a little bit. But, you know, it's subtle. I'm only kind of picking on that because I really do notice these things. Other little details. I'll probably just thicken that up a bit. It looks a bit too thin, the border. Even just 1 pixel will be fine. Installation needs a capital I just so it matches the capital H over here. The icon is slightly off center. So if I grab that here, you can see it's a few pixels to the right. So I would just nudge that over to the left. Same with this one. This is a good example actually. So if I just create a shape, we're going to just do a little bit of optical alignment here. So boom, got my red box. So yeah, this is a good example actually. So we'll go red box and we'll go yellow box for the truck. So let's kind of get this there. So you can look at this, right? And technically they both are aligned to each other. These two boxes are perfectly aligned with the end of the, I'm going to sneeze, hang on. Oh, excuse me. So yeah, they're perfectly aligned technically, but actually if I zoom back out, it still feels like the truck is a bit to the left. And that's because when it comes to alignment, sometimes you have to align it optically with your eyes rather than technically with the software, because this is technically aligned correctly. They're both centered, but the main mass of this icon is what we're focusing on. These little kind of lines, these speed lines out the back, they only carry a little bit of kind of weight in terms of alignment. So actually we have to kind of, oh, I can't move that, can I? Well, I'm going to cut it out then. Paste in place. It's just, oh, actually, no, let's use the generative thing. That generative just fill backgrounds is annoyingly useful. Bless you. Ah, thank you, everyone. Hey, Dansky, how do you think about Affinity? Have you ever tried it? Yeah, first impressions, Affinity looks great. In terms of the cost for what you get for Affinity, you know, amazing. I've tried it a bit, and I think it's probably amazing. To be fair, they've got a lot of features that I think apps like Illustrator could especially learn from. there's a lot of things I like about it, but I've not really given Affinity a fair shake because I'm like, you know, I've been using Adobe for so long and I teach it on my channel that, oh dear, this isn't going well. But, you know, that it's kind of like, there's no real reason for me to use Affinity. You know, I kind of just, I pay the Adobe subscription and I just kind of eat that cost effectively. But I think, you know, from what I have used of the software, it's very good, very well done, and it does do a lot of things that the Photoshop and Illustrator do. And just little things, even like the UI and the way it's designed. Like, it, I don't know, it created a really good first impression for me. Not to mention the cost is a one-off cost. And it's not a lot, really, when you think about it. You get all, you're better off getting all of the apps. Because you get them on their Mac and PC, all of them, forever. It's pretty decent. It's mostly the cost of the yeah. Like when you start earning more as a creative professional, and you're kind of getting a lot of value from, especially if you're someone like me, I'm using Photoshop, Illustrator, After Effects, Premiere. You know, I'm using all these different apps. I'm getting a lot of value for that subscription, so I don't even think about it anymore. But yeah, if you are starting off, I can imagine, especially if you're just using one app, the price tag could be like a bit off-putting, especially as you've got to pay it every single month. What am I doing? Why have I removed that? Oh, Dan, what are you doing? Oh, right, yeah. I'm being a clown. Sorry, guys, bear with me. This is what happens when I get distracted. It's easily done. Okay, just pretend there isn't that horrible box around the edge. There we go. Oh, no. Oh, dear. Right, okay, there we go. That's what I'm doing. Do my best. Okay, so at the moment that is technically aligned, but what we need to do is actually nudge that over a little bit. So the kind of main body, the center mass of the design is what we're aligning to. So that's technically aligned correctly, but it actually looks off because the truck feels like it's too far over to the left. But as soon as we align the main body of the truck, actually it feels a bit more aligned optically, but not technically. So that's why the software is great for aligning things together, but at the end of the day we do have to kind of rely on and work on training our eye as designers to align things by eye. Just because some things don't fit the mold. Some icons like this one do come in weird and wonderful shapes, and kind of like kerning with typography, we know we've got to learn to balance spacing and alignment and these sorts of things to just get it looking visually correct. I'm a hobbyist, so I switched to Inkscape from Illustrator. Yeah, I've heard a few people say about Inkscape. I've never ever used it before. Jetty says Affinity is good, but it lacks the AI that Adobe has now, so they have pulled ahead even more. Yeah, I mean, Affinity, I think they have a trial as well. It's something like 30 days. You can download the whole lot, I think, and just try it out. So, you know, if you were Affinity curious, definitely give it a go. I mean, I started, actually, no, I was always on Photoshop and Illustrator, but then in my second job, my boss, he used CorelDRAW a lot. So then I learned how to use CorelDRAW as well. So I think at the end of the day, you just got to try, especially if you're new to the game, start with Affinity. You know, a lot of things are quite similar anyway. So if you started learning Affinity and you then got into a job and they required that you learn Illustrator, because a lot of companies do use Adobe software. That is the honest advantage to learning the Adobe suite is, you know, that's what companies tend to use a lot of the time. So it just kind of, it makes life easier. but there's a lot of things that are similar. So me using Affinity compared to Illustrator, I can use it to some sort of basic extent, you know. But if you want to learn Adobe Illustrator in its entirety, then I've got the course for you. There we go. Nice segue into the course pitch. That is my full Adobe Illustrator Masterclass. It will teach you everything I know about that bit of software. So if you do decide to go the Adobe route, that course will teach you 17 years of Illustrator knowledge, condensed down into about 5 or 6 hours. And it will ensure that you don't make all the mistakes that I've made throughout my entire career. So there's also 15% off, and that is linked in the stream description as well. So don't forget to grab that 15% off code. Quark, I remember that back in the day. Huh. Quark. Yeah, so in terms of design, you know, this is a really good example of just design and spacing, really. I kind of do love the simplicity. You know, this is all, is that lined up? I think that's lined up. Yeah, that's pretty tight. Left and right, it's pretty decent. Product kind of comes out. Nice bit of contrast there. Subtle, but not too subtle. And I don't understand the tagline personally, but that's not to say it's bad by any means. And the color palette also seems to fit in with the product or the brand. Obviously, I'm just looking at this graphic as a standalone graphic, so I don't know what the rest of the brand or their graphics are like, but I'm looking at it and I like what I see. You know, it's clean and simple. And like I said earlier, you know, sometimes you just need a really nice, strong product image, and that will do 90% of the work. You know, some of the other stuff is just kind of title here, a few benefits here, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. And, oh, there's a saying. I can't think what it is. There's a saying about the visual side of things being more important, but it's, for some reason, it's escaping me. Next, make an Affinity course. I have thought about it. I have thought about it. What do you think about the typography in this design? I think it's exactly what it needs to be. One thing that's standing out to me is I feel like the tracking, that's the spacing between all of the letters, is maybe a little bit wide. Not so much on the title, but more this text down here. It feels like it's about 20 or 30 when it could be maybe 0 or 10. That's just a personal preference, though. I think that's, you know, I don't think that would have any kind of impact on the design or the effectiveness of the design. It's just a stylistic preference. Now that I'm looking at it a bit more, I've also mentioned the stroke. It's just too thin. It needs a bit more clarity on it. And the icons as well. One is like a solid fill. One is much more stroke and linear oriented. I would keep your icon design consistent. If I ever do a design, right, and it's got 3, 4, 5, 6 icons on, those icons will never be a different style. They will always be the same style. They'll either be like this, and they'll be like a solid fill, or they'll be like this, and they'll be very kind of linear, kind of more what you'd get on an app, for example. Or they would be 3D, or they would be using gradients. They would always be the same style. So that's just one observation. There, I would just try and make them match. But again, it's one of those things that's the kind of details that I really focus on. But does it really detract from the effectiveness of this? Not really, no. But you know me, guys, like I like to nitpick on these things. I'm very detail oriented in terms of a designer. Like, I'm definitely creative and I do produce creative work, but when it comes to kind of the little technical details, like I'm just like a hawk. My eye is like drawn to it, you know? What was the name of the desktop publishing that Adobe launched before InDesign? Can you remember it? Oh, PageMaker. Oh yeah, God, I never used it, but I had heard of it. It's like, what what was it? Was it before After Effects? Photoshop had Adobe Image Ready. Was that it? That was for like, was that the After Effects? It was. I used it to kind of animate GIFs and stuff back in the day. I don't know if that then became After Effects. Image Ready, yeah, you remember? Oh, this is nice. Trip down memory lane. I'm suddenly 16 and I'm back at school and I'm discovering Photoshop and Image Ready for the first time. Look, you can make an animated GIF. Oh, so much fun. So much fun. Oh, nice. Right, we're gonna do one more and then I've got to shoot because I would like to see my kids today. Hopefully that's okay with you. When are submissions open? I'm going to open them up again probably in a couple of weeks. I've still got quite a few designs to get through. But yeah, I'll open them again in a couple of weeks. Oh, Aldous PageMaker. Oh, Paul, was the company called Aldous then? And they sold it to Adobe? And then changed the name to Adobe PageMaker. Quark. Oh, I could never get to grips with Quark. I think because I'd used a bit of CorelDRAW and then I'd predominantly been using InDesign quite early on in my career. There were a few client documents that came in Quark. And I was like, what is this? How do I use this? Like, I don't remember it that well, but I remember hating it. I remember that feeling of just... Quark used to drive me mad. Not to mention it's named after a type of cheese. Quark cheese. Very low fat if you're interested. PageMaker took forever to load on the dinosaur computer we had. Yeah, computers have come quite a long way, haven't they, in the last 17, 18 years. Oh, right, they purchased Adobe Aldous PageMaker in 2004. Okay. Kind of like how they're purchasing Figma, and we'll get Adobe Figma soon, right? First impressions, love it. Right, Dilshan, yes, absolutely. Back to the design. Come on, guys, no more nostalgia. Let's get to it. So, get ready. Yep, cool font. I like the italicized style to it. Kind of signifies movement. You get this a lot with sports graphics because it does kind of look... it looks like the text is moving a bit. I'm going to say it's a bit cringe saying this, but it looks a bit dynamic. Whatever that means. You know, it's something that you see bold and italicized fonts for a lot of sports graphics. And just, I like the way things like this connect. The E and the T. That just looks nice. Nice little connection there. Beautiful. Yeah, it's pretty decent. Get ready. I mean, and it goes behind. This is a great way, actually, that you can really use space. Because like we had the smoothie earlier, you've got the mirrors from the bike here. They kind of stick up quite high. You know? And if you didn't want to cover the product, you'd be squished up here. You'd have your get ready text really, really small. And actually, sometimes it's better to have the text bigger and have it be covered by parts of the design, because it enables you to get it larger within that space and really make the most of it. But actually, you know, by covering a bit of the text, especially if it's a word that is quite commonly used, like ready, for example, like I said, the brain's clever, it will fill in the blanks. And it also just adds a nice bit of depth into the design as well. But again, you can see that kind of, it looks like that fringing around the edge. Maybe that might be part of the product. It runs all the way down here. So again, you'd need to use that same technique. No, there's a bit of it down here as well. So make a selection of the product. If you've got one. I don't know if that bit there, that looks like it hasn't been cut out either, that little section there. But make a selection of the product, contract the selection by 1 pixel, and then do a bit of feathering between, I don't know, 0.2 and 0.7 on the feathering. Those options are all under there, under the modify section. If you've got no idea what I'm talking about, then go back to the beginning of the stream where I demonstrate that technique. But basically what it does is makes a selection of everything. You can track the selection so it kind of cuts off and isolates the product from that kind of halo around the edge. And then you can soften the edge of the product and add a layer mask just so you don't get a perfectly clean cutout, because perfectly clean cutouts are great, but they can look a little bit fake. So when you're using the pen tool, that is obviously going to give you a perfectly crisp outline to your product, but sometimes you want to add that little bit of feathering around the edge because it just feels more realistic. Real nitpick there. The good advantage to having that little halo around the edge actually is it kind of does help that stand out against the text so it doesn't blend together. But anyway, so get ready to bring your two-wheeler home. Nice. Why is the W got a capital letter? That might be, in fact, a capitalization there. Should there be a space there? I don't know if two-wheeler is like the product name. No. Capitalization feels a bit random there, so maybe sort that out. Book now. I don't know why capital and then they've got lowercase here on these two letters. Again, just keep it consistent. Just go all caps. There's no reason for it to be smaller like that. Spacing here feels a bit tight as well. Just space it out a bit more. I think it works quite nicely here. What you could do is you could push the product up over here. You've definitely got space to play with there. So that would create the necessary space just to kind of give everything a bit more room to breathe. Or if you wanted to, you could just kind of move the book now down to here by the phone number. Book now. This is where you can book it from that phone number, which definitely looks like a fake number. 12223221232212. That literally looks like someone's just kind of spammed the keyboard, doesn't it? It's like just ASDF, ASDF, ASDF. So yeah, this is great. You know, you've got plenty of movement space to kind of move this around and create space to kind of just give everything a bit more room to breathe. If you needed a bit more space, you could move that logo from the bottom right to the top right, maybe. Or you could move that logo up here by the phone number. So the logo, the contact information, and the website is all together. There's a few different ways you could play this, I'll be honest. Also, the bike itself, this dust looks like a brush, which is fine. But again, I think the retouching needs a bit of work there. We've got some dust, which is great, but is the bike moving? Should it be moving? I don't know. Or is it meant to be stationary? If it's stationary, why is there dust kicking up? If it's moving, why does it not look like it's moving? So, and if it's moving, then who's driving it? So of course the bike has to be stationary because there's nobody there on the bike. So, guys, sorry, this is just how I think. This is how my brain thinks. So, right, there's no one on the bike, so let's assume it's stationary. So I would just dial the dust back a little bit. You could have some dust as if it's just come to a stop, but keep it kind of over there behind where the bikes come from. Shadows. Shadows down here need a bit more work. It looks a little bit kind of brushed in there. You know, this bit here would probably be a lot lighter because the light, I think, is coming from this direction. So you would get some shadowing. You get some shadowing here, and you get it more here. Not so much there. Again, we get some more shadowing under here that you'll be able to see a bit more without the crazy dust. And you could add the shadowing to the bike as well. So if the light's coming from, I can't draw arrows today, coming from there, what you'd do is this would all be darker, much darker, and then you get some kind of nice highlights going around the edge of the bike. It would take you a long time, but it would really kind of help make that bike feel like it belongs in that environment. Something else you could also do is, if I can select this subject, let's try and get a detailed selection. Nice, not too bad. So what I would do is I would add a color balance adjustment layer, and then I would introduce some more blue. There's a lot of black in this. So you can see I've literally just changed a few sliders. This basically enables you to control the colors of the shadows, the midtones, and the highlights. So before we just had a product image like this, just those, the original colors. But because it is in a kind of mountainous, sort of snowy, slightly bluish environment, just adding that, that's probably even a bit too much actually. I'll probably dial that back just a little bit. You can see it just makes a little bit of a difference and makes it just feel like it actually fits in the environment. If you're in a cold or cooler environment, just kind of try and apply a little bit of that to the product. Now, another way you can do this if we're talking temperature is to apply a photo filter. You don't get as much flexibility with this, but you've got some presets for warming and cooling. So we could go and pick one of these. I think maybe the last one. Yeah, just dial down the density. So for this example, really, really subtle, but you can see it does the same thing, but it's just very helpful because it's got those kind of presets related to temperature. So color balance is the way I'd go because it's more advanced, but if you find that a bit tricky and you need to just warm up or cool down an image, photo filter is the way to go. And a lot of these little things, you know, to do with adding shadows on the product, making it a bit colder or cooler, adding highlights, shadows under the bike, dialing the dust down and putting it out the back a bit. They're all like very small things, but actually when you, and I do this all the time with my own work, when you kind of do all of these different things, you group all these changes you've done together in a folder and you turn them off and back on. The difference, particularly with the lighting and the shadows, is quite astounding. It makes a massive, massive difference. Yeah. But generally, you know, in terms of this, yeah, it's clean, simple, not too much information. Yeah, I do like it. I'm not sure what the context is, if it's a web graphic or something, but it's got nice colors as well. There's like a clear theme here. We've got the white, not quite black, but it's like a very dark bluey black, and then the red. And this all kind of stands out against the sky. I think the background feels like a bit fake, like they've applied a blur and then just sort of try to fade it in roughly there. What I would probably recommend doing is using something like a tilt shift, because rather than blurring the whole background as it is, let me just see if I can generate a mountain. I'll show you what I'm waffling on about. I don't know if it will work. Mountain landscape. I used to do this a long time ago. I would just kind of add a blur, but just adding a Gaussian blur to a landscape scene with stuff that's much further in the distance doesn't account for that gradual blur. You know, like the depth of field you get from a camera. Okay, yeah, I could work with this. Yeah, we'll do this second one. Yeah, we can do this. So this is a lot closer to the camera, this kind of sloping tree hill thing. First of all, I'm going to make it a smart object. I'm going to add a tilt shift, and I'm going to position the point here where I want everything to be in focus. I can actually angle this quite nicely, and everything from the solid line, which starts at 0, through to the dashed line is where that gradual blur is happening. And the dashed line, that value is up here. So if I crank that up to, let's say, 74, we're going to go from a blur of 0 on the solid line to 74 on the dashed line. So if I stretch this out, you can see that blur is a bit more gradual. There it's happening very kind of harshly. So what I can do this way is I can have these trees here in the foreground in focus, and then I can gradually blur everything in the background. Let's maybe move that up like this Now that's obviously too extreme, but it's useful to have a high blur to find the sort of the right positioning, and I can dial that down. And obviously, you know, you can work on this a bit more. It's not perfect by any means, but we've now got the stuff in focus here. We've got stuff that's further away starting to blur out here, and then we've got the stuff that's much, much further away, really blurred out over there. And we could even go and add another one, actually. We could add a field blur on top of that. And this enables us to pick points. So I can then go and add a point here, and you can see I can blur out specific parts of the image. So I could super blurry there. A bit less blurry there. A bit less blurry there. And you can sort of move the blurs around in real time as well. So you can see I've kind of gone from, oh no, where is it? This, where everything's just in focus to the distance, to really kind of blurring out the distance, which is very, very useful if you have like a product or something that is in the foreground. And it's a great technique to then draw focus to that subject or that product, and then have a slightly more realistic blur with your background gradually blurring as you get further away from the camera. And it's just, yeah, it's way better than just using a Gaussian blur, because Gaussian blur will just apply a flat blur, a blanket blur of a set value to everything, and then if you try and like brush it out and remove it doesn't look as nice. So I know some of these blur gallery features, they're much more taxing on the computer. They really can. Like on my old laptop, they really it struggled with those a bit, but they give you a much more realistic result. So even if you can use them and then turn them off when you're working on your design, and it comes time to render at the end, and then just flick them on and export, it's definitely good. Did you miss Casper is riding it? Yeah, maybe Casper's riding the bike. Paul, I was trying to get zip disk to work the other day. Oh my goodness, what was that for? I never used zip disks. I saw them, they were massive. I came in at floppy 1.44, whatever it was. Floppy disks. Oh my goodness. Oh man, this stream is full of nostalgia. I'm literally 16 years old again. Little old Dan right at the beginning of his career. Cool. Actually, no, 16 was bedroom designer Dan, spending his evenings learning Photoshop. Oh, good times. Do you know, I've still got my work from back then when I was like 16 years old. So I don't know, maybe one of these streams will get my work out and you can critique that. Neural filters also seem to be decent for changing colors quickly. Yes, that is a good point. I think neural filters, obviously the limitation with neural filters is that you've only got the settings there to play with. But they can help you in a pinch. There's sometimes I use neural filters, not a lot. I think because I've learned a lot of the manual, I guess you could say manual way, the proper way to do things. But there are some features there that are quite useful. But again, it's like you are limited by the capability of those features, you know. Cheers, Zach. Take care, man. Thank you for joining. .44 megabytes. Oh wow, so much data. Oh, amazing. Right, thank you so much, guys. I'm just going to wrap up the stream by one last plug on the course, because people tell me that I don't promote my course enough. So there it is, Adobe Illustrator, everything I know about the software. You will learn it in about 5 to 6 hours, rather than spending, like I did, years, nearly 2 decades at this point, trying to learn the software and making tons of mistakes. It will just teach you the best way to do everything in Illustrator. Years of trial and error. But yeah, thank you so much for joining the stream. I love doing these. It's always a ton of fun. And so thank you very much to everyone for joining, but also the regulars. You know who you are. And yes, it's now 5 o'clock and I'm going to go and see my kids. So, Poppy, you can tell the boys that Daddy is on his way home now. And I'm actually rather hungry. But anyway, guys, yeah, I hope you have a fantastic week. And I'll see you in the next one. Take care.